Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
My name is David Lewis, Full-Blood Creek of the Muskogee Nation. We're located in Oklahoma. I was born and raised there. I have a college degree in human resources, and I also have a license to work on airframe and power plant. But I was born into traditional medicine, which is my profession today. But I am also on the National Council of the Creek Nation, which makes the law for our people. And it is a pleasure to come down here to talk to Dr. Jordan's class again. The question that I'm mostly asked is, what is Indian medicine? Combination of three things. The number one is the sacred words that we have, which was either handed down or revealed by visions. And the second one is the herbs that we use. I do not let anybody go and find plants for me or even dig anything for me, because I do my own work. I do not believe in somebody else handling the herbs that I will use in the future, or even at the time that I go out and look for these. It's usually on emergency cases. And I usually dig them to carry me over through the winter, and I usually run out. But I do not let anybody handle anything that I work with. And then number three is that we have to have a firm believer of what we've got. I've always told the client that if they don't believe in our ways, that it's a waste of their time and my time, because it will not work. The sacred words that have been given, it's either inherent, but it's also alive. That's something we can't get around. If you have any doubts about the medicine that we have, we can do everything that we can to try to help a person, but they could kill it in a minute with their disbelief. In our tribe, we have three types of medicine people. And the number one is the main medicine man. He is considered the highest in status among the Creek people. It could be either a man or it could be a woman. We have a lot of respect for our medicine people, but a woman, we've always kind of looked up to them. We've always felt that they seem to have the more power than the men, but it's not so, but the man will look up to a woman in that respect. A child is chosen at an early age. The reason that we choose the candidates to which to follow in our step is that it is a lot easier to teach them when they're small. I will use myself an example after a while, the type of training that I went through. But the child that is chosen is usually watched and as the child is developing, he is tutored or she is tutored. But they're also disciplined. They are very, very strict with the person that they work with. It has to be. It has to be right, or it'll never work. So everything that the medicine people do has to be exact. Even the chants that we have, that's been handed down for hundreds of years, those words are still exactly the way it was given. That's why it works today. It works today. I mean, the people think that through the years things have changed, and it has. But the words we use and the herbs we use has never changed. That's why it's very effective. It works. That baffled the many specialists in medical field. There are many stories told about how we train our medicine people. I normally don't make a comment on a person that's saying, well, we had so many in our family and we train him. Sometimes include the nephews. But there is no medicine school. When you're selecting a the main medicine man, it only can select one person. And that one person will carry on from their family side and usually inherit it through family. But there is a provision in there that we could also select somebody else if they qualify of what we're looking for. The qualities that we look for, the person that we're selecting: good temperament, prone to fairness, a good judgment, and a seriousness and exceptional ability to learn and to understand. A child that has been chosen in this category is generally gifted. They have some ability to be psychic in some form. The people that has this type of ability is, a child is usually born with that ability. But they also learn from the people that are teaching these child or the one that they have chosen. They learn the one way that their family carries on for years, hundreds of years. The people that, the chosen one that has these type of abilities, the mystic power, which we call Awala, which means that the psychic, they have ability to see what's ahead and what went wrong yesterday. They have that ability. And then the other one, it's what we call Kitha. Now that means the one who knows. That does not have to be inherited or born with it. They can learn from their teacher. They accompany the person that are teaching them, that they see the symptoms. They see the type of medicine that was dug and used for that particular sickness. He is always right there to hear the chants. It is not sung directly for that boy, but he does listen in. So that's how he learned. And when the people talk about Kitha in our tribe, they're usually talking about somebody that knows and has experience. And now we have the second medicine person, which we call carrier. A carrier is a person that seeks the knowledge for their own interests from another medicine man that is willing to share some of the knowledge that he has. But they may also possess the mystic power, just as a main medicine man. A carrier does not have to be initiated. A carrier can be a learner or a disciple of a main medicine man. But we expect a carrier, if I was teaching one, I would expect that person to live as pure as possible. For we try to leave all the negative things away from what we do. That is to keep our medicine strong. We do not look for anything in negative in a person, but we only try to see the good side of each individual. That is our way of life. We do not look for anything negative in any person. Then we have a specialist, the number 3, we call specialists. The specialist here is held by men only. The knowledge he has affects the ceremonial ground that we have and the people that are associated with that particular ground. It is either inherited through the family, or he can be selected by the ground. He has to know the songs that pertains to that place, to the ground, the rituals. The laws that have been put down, how the ground is supposed to be run, has been passed down on to him. And he carried out his work just like the Maine medicine people do. He can also be a carrier. A lot of them are carriers. But they cannot never be a Maine medicine person or a medicine man. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself today. The selection of the Maine medicine man. I will tell you the experience that I went through and how my family selected me. It was already had an understanding with my grandmother that my father would be the one to initiate me, and I would carry on from that side of that family. But my grandmother said that she could not find a candidate to carry on from my mother's side, that she was already getting old, and there was no way that she would ever find replacement for her. So the unusual thing happened in our family, that I was to be initiated by my dad and my grandmother that raised me. By doing that, I learned two different chants. I learned a chance that my dad had been given to him by his great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was Jackson Lewis, which was the chief informant for Swanton back in 1800s. My grandmother was to give me, well, she was the one that delivered me. But they were prepared to see if I was the right candidate to even be one. So the thing they had to do was they had to make medicine. They had to see if I would drink the medicine they were giving me. That was the first step. I've been told that I had no problem drinking that medicine when they first offered to me after just a few seconds after I was born. But I was quickly washed down with the medicine that was made. The first step that I was putting when I drank that medicine, that was to see what kind of person that I would be 50, 60 years away. And they immediately following that, I was washed down with another medicine. But that was to work on my motor system, that I would learn quickly and to never forget what was ahead of me, that the thing that they were going to teach me. That's why I say the words that we've learned many years ago we'd never forget. It's hard to believe from the standpoint of some of the scholars But I live this every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There are some words that I have never used over 20, 30 years. Sometime I'm called on and I will go back. Those words come to me just like the day that I was taught when I was a little kid, as a child. That's why they had to work on our motor system, that we would learn quickly and never forget. Now I will tell you a little bit about a training. As I began to walk, my grandmother usually was the one that kind of took over the whole thing. The women like to dominate sometimes, and she was one of them. But she was a good teacher. She was good. She knew what she was doing. That everything that she touched and every root that she dug, she would always say, Hiliswa, which means medicine. And I know she used to smile and said, the first word she ever learned, I said, it wasn't mom and dad. The first word she ever said was Hiliswa. Because that's all I heard throughout my life when I was young. Everything that she used, the flowers in bloom, the medicine in bloom, she'd touch it, she'd slap it. I said, it's medicine. She would pick one, she'd smell it. I would imitate her. I know what they smell like. You can be blindfolded and they can hand you one, and you can tell them what kind of plant that they've got. But then she would go out and dig. I've always remembered that she had an apron on. She would wipe it off and she would chew it. And I did the same thing. I was getting the taste of what it tastes like. She would smell it. I did the same thing. So you can tell by the way it smells. Or you can chew it and tell you what root they are by the taste. I know that we used to go out and go farther away from the house. The plants were, plentiful back then. They're very hard to come by now. It's very, very hard to find them. But we used to go way off, and she would start digging roots. And then as we slowly came back towards the house, it would be getting late. But at one time I asked her, I said, why don't we just get the roots from the plant that we're looking for right close to the house? And she said, the reason I do this is that you're full of energy when we first start out. But as you begin to tire, he said, we're almost back home then. And I once asked her, well, how did you know I would dig? Help you dig these? Because I used to have my own little tool. She'd dig, I dug right beside her. And she said, very simple. He said, kids like dirt. He said, I know you would dig. And then she would wash them off. And she's that same thing. He said, you like water. He said, I know you'd wash them off. So that's why I said I had a good teacher. She knew what she was doing. She's very patient. She was the one that initiated me first into the same class that she was in as a main medicine person. I'll tell you a little bit about the initiation. She took me to running water. and we had 4 rocks. We waded out to the middle. She had a gourd of something like this right here, a big one and a smaller one. There was medicine in that. She handed me a rock and said, "This is for your ability to heal." And she asked me to embed it in the stream. I'd go down, put it in the sand, I'd come up. When I come up, she had the medicine and she would pour it on me. When the 4th time was over, she was through. She held her gourd up, facing the east. She said that she had carried out what she was supposed to do, and the power was within this little man. While she was holding the gourds up like that in the air, the both of them popped. I was just like, it splattered everywhere. And she threw it in the water. And she turned around and looked at me. He said, "This is your day." And she walked out on the bank and she started home. It was unusual because I was only 6.5-years-old at that time. But before the initiation ever took place, the story, the origin of our medicine is learned. You have to know how certain plants begin to grow on this earth. You had to know how we got this is known as a red root, Mica huyaneja, how this began to grow. And this is American ginseng, what you all would call, we call it Hillis hutki. We had to know how this began to grow, where it came from, and how and why it began to grow. Those are the things that you learn before the initiation took place. So at 6.5-years-old, if you could tell a story that was told, you learned you did something. But that's why that the day that I was born, they were washing me down with that medicine to see that I would learn and never forget. But as she was walking back towards the house, I came out on the bank and I started to go home. I heard a voice said, "Come here."